Fellow vets, stop doing your PACT Act claim incorrectly. I've said it before, doing a bad PACT Act claim and getting denied is the equivalent of blowing a wide open layup in the NBA or wide open dunk. You don't want it to happen to you. So by the end of this video, you're going to know from beginning to end how to file a correct PACT Act claim, presumptive conditions, so that you can get the VA rating that you deserve. I'm Jordan Anderson with VA Claims Academy. Let's go. And look, if you're one of the many veterans who don't have any military records from service, this is for you. It can be most likely the make or break for your entire VA claim. I remember just a few months ago, I had one of my leadership, we'll call him Bob. So he calls me and he is livid. The VA and the supposed presumptive PACT Act easy conditions, and ultimately got denied for it. So he says to me, and he has a thick accent, Bob, he's like, yeah, so Jordan, what do they want me to do? I mean, what's the problem here? And Bob isn't the type to take criticism well. So after a short awkward silence, I said, you. And here's why. And this is the mistake that you may have made if you're watching this and have had your PACT Act claim denied. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You file your VA claim, you don't include the fact that it's a PACT Act claim right on the application. You don't submit personal statements along with your claim, and you just rely on the VA to do their job so exceptionally well and get you rated properly. You don't want to risk your own claim, your whole family's future on getting a good dice roll on some government employees, right? So a lot of them are great, some of them not so much. We need to do what we can on our part to make sure that we are spoon feeding them the easiest way possible for them to tell you yes. What does that mean specifically? I mentioned the application. When you either go to va.gov to file your claim, or you go to your local VSO, your local VA representative, what have you, make sure you have them, or do it yourself, indicate specifically on your application in the text body the fact that, hey, this is a PACT Act related claim. What's that mean? I'm going to leave a link down in the description below. You're going to see the list of presumptively service-connected conditions with that link. Now, this means that you don't need a nexus letter. You don't need to have proof that your conditions were caused by this toxic exposure in order to get it service-connected. How powerful is that? So that's the first step. Now the VA rater, think of it from their perspective, right? They're going to get your file. Let's say it's a packet, right? Let's act like it's a physical packet. They pick it up. Oh, okay, I see that this is a PACT Act claim. I'm going to switch my frame of mind. This is a PACT Act claim. Oh, I see they have sinusitis. I see they have rhinitis, COPD, asthma, bronchitis. They're already looking at you through the lens of being presumptively service-connected for these things, rather than just some random conditions that you have no documentation for, and then they have to discover that they matched up your location with a time that you could have potentially been toxically exposed to, okay? So it makes it a lot easier to get a yes rather than a no. What else could you do? Well, tell your story through personal statements. This is the only time that you can essentially directly communicate with your VA rating adjudicator. In about a page and a half, so Form 4138, you're going to write a personal statement about what you were exposed to, how it affected you, maybe why you didn't go to the doctor during service, or maybe you had an onset of chronic bronchitis years down the line that you figure could be tied to the fact that these burn pits, these massive burn pits of human waste and all that, could have caused it. Now, the VA themselves acknowledges that to be the case, so they're absolutely on your side. You just got to tell them your story. And the other thing to do, or I guess to not do, this was in the case of Bob as well. Sure, Bob was diagnosed with sinusitis years ago and hasn't been to the doctor ever since. So the VA looks at that and says, you know what, on paper, it looks like your sinusitis has magically healed itself. Oh, good for you, denied. So you have to be sure that this appears to be an ongoing issue, not just in reality, but on paper. So the things that you're struggling with behind closed doors that you don't want to go to the doctor for whatever reason, the VA is not going to see that. They're not there in your house looking at you. They're not there, observing you all the time. They need to see it on paper because that's the only thing that the VA rater is looking at. So that makes sense when you think of it that way. So make sure you have a current diagnosis, as with any other VA disability claim. And if you haven't been to the doctor in years, go ahead and get refreshed on that diagnosis first. The moral of the story, don't be a Bob. Don't be too, proud or just, maybe egotistic to think that everyone's just gonna put this on a silver platter for you and just work their butts off to get you the rating you deserve. No, you gotta put in the work yourself. Make it easy for the VA to say yes. Make it difficult for them to say no. How do you do that? By telling your story effectively and proactively, getting it out there and making sure that they see it, even if they're flying through claims at 100 miles an hour. I really hope this helped, because a lot of people talk about, the regulations of the VA, all this stuff. Yeah, all that's great, but we also live in the real world, and you're gonna have to navigate real world issues like, government workers, contractors, things like this. And that is how you file a consistent claim and avoid getting one of these terrible PACT Act denials. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button. Do me a favor and share this with someone who needs it, because there's plenty of those folks. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.